Hello and welcome to a new episode of Gully to Gully. Lots going on in the world of cricket. At the IPL, of course, kicked off some exciting games, some interesting situations, particularly with Mumbai Indians, and we'll come on to that, what's going on there, and also give our predictions of the IPL, although with a bit of cheating, given that we have some sight of how things are panning out after the first two, three, four games in some cases. But also, we will go across the border and discuss the PCB, which is the Pakistan Cricket Board, the Pakistan Comedy Board, the Pakistan Clown Board. I don't know what it is now, and everything that's been going on, or the Pakistan Captaincy Board.
That's a good one.
Let us know in the
The
comments if
gift
there's any
that
others
keeps
you can come
on
up
giving.
with.
The gift that keeps on giving.
So I've got Moin here with me, but we'll come on to a place closer to our homes and hearts maybe later on in the episode. But let's start with the IPL. It's been an interesting start. There's no point going through match by match. There's a lot of matches to come as well. But some interesting themes that we've seen panning out. Most importantly, I think, is Mumbai Indians and Hardik Pandya and how that, I wouldn't call it an experiment, but that transfer really hasn't worked out well so far. And I mean, it's one thing to have obviously the opposition booing you and the team that you've left booing you, but to have your own home fans booing you.
Yeah, I mean it's something, right? I look, you know, the transition has not been smooth. Most pundits had Mumbai Indians in the semis. I think for me it seemed always a stretch. I just felt there was too much chaos and flux around for them to make it because it's such a highly competitive tournament. I'm not sure how much value Hardik Pandya adds as a player because they've already got a pretty strong squad, and I think they already have a couple of all-rounder options. It just felt forced to bring Pandya in, and then of course reinstate him as captain. But I'll come on to that in a second. But I think from a squad perspective, I think Mumbai Indians just seem to have missed a trick a little here. I think Pandya coming in at 4 or 5 just feels a place too high for him. And also, you've got to remember, just take a moment, just take a step back. Right? I'm going to be a bit critical of Hardik Pandya for a second. If for those faithful who have watched our Gully to Gully broadcast from the days it started, will know that you and I predicted Hardik Pandya to be the player of the World Cup. Right? We were bought into this Hardik Pandya craze, the fact that he's a great all-rounder, he can win with the bat, win with the ball. But when you think about it, how much competitive cricket has he actually played, right, at the highest level? And when I say highest level, I talk international as well as IPL, right? IPL is close to international standards, of course. He hasn't, right? He'll have 3 really good games and then he'll be injured for the next 2. And I just think for him to take on captaincy alongside sort of getting back into the highest level of cricket after missing out, a few times, just felt like too tall an ask for him. And then the icing on the cake is replacing the Indian captain Rohit Sharma. Not only is he any captain, he's a very, very good captain, right? I mean, he is the captain that's responsible for India's change in mentality at the international level, right? After that big loss to England in the semi of the 22 T20 World Cup, he literally changed the approach, especially from a batting perspective. So, I kind of empathize with Indian supporters, Mumbai Indian supporters. I mean, Rohit Sharma is the darling of Mumbai Indians. He's won the IPL so many times. And I just think it was a bit of a shock. And you notice Rohit Sharma was fielding sometimes in the deep. You can sense the body language not being great. I think Pandya just seems to be a bit overconfident. His press conferences, his post-match presentations, he'll say things like, "Oh, I'm happy with what I saw in the game where he conceded 277." I mean, wait, what did you see? I mean, were you watching the same game? I mean, you had Bumrah who had 3 overs left in the tank when you were being absolutely bulldozed on the ground, and it was almost as if he was trying to be too smart. Some captains try to think outside the box for the sake of doing it. It seemed as if he was doing that, and I mean, I can empathize, right? I feel bad for Pandya. Obviously, nobody deserves to be booed by their home crowd because he obviously wants to win for them. But at the same time, there is some body language, some other elements of Hardik Pandya that don't really make him very likable.
I mean, I agree with most of that. I think the only point that you made earlier around him, his batting, I actually think he should come up higher. I think he should come at 3 or 4. I think that's where he actually batted for Gujarat.
Hmm.
I think in the previous game when they were like 20 for 3 or something, he came in afterwards. I think he sometimes shields himself when Trent Bolt was going crazy. A couple of
Right.
matches ago, I think he kind of hit himself and came in late.
Fair
I think
enough.
he
No, fair
should
enough.
lead
Yeah.
from the front if he is the captain. And
Learn from
he
Shaheen
didn't do
Afridi.
that. A bit too much. But I think Pandya's batting skills are a tad bit better than Shaheen. But I do agree with the points on the fielding, and I think he just tries to be a bit too different. But look, I mean, there's still a long, long way to go in the tournament, and we'll come on to that maybe as well. But a few other interesting things, we've seen 155 plus fast bowler again coming through, bursting onto the scene in the IPL. A few good young Indian batsmen, Ryan Parag again, he's finally coming of age for Rajasthan, who are looking very good. And also, of course, that 277 game that you mentioned, absolute chaos. Which, and to be fair, again, Pandya probably lost it because Mumbai were on track, and then Pandya comes in and scores
Oh, yeah,
24 for
Pandya came
20.
in and completely botched the chase. I mean, look, to be honest, like they,
Yeah.
you're on track, but you're not actually on track, right? It only takes one wicket, and then
Yeah, but yeah, look, I think it's still early days of the IPL. So how do you think, maybe let's get into your predictions. What do you think is going to happen, and who have kind of you picked up? Looking at the table, let's not make it too obvious and just pick the top four teams that are there. But
So look, I think, and I think this is the same predictions I had, sort of just at the start of the IPL. Maybe one change from it, but I'm going Sunrisers Hyderabad, Chennai Super Kings, Rajasthan Royals, and Gujarat. These are my four. KKR narrowly misses out. You can make a case for them, but I just don't feel comfortable putting a team in the top four that spent that amount of money on Mitchell Stark. Sorry,
and
I
who's
don't.
gone for
Who
100
has
runs in 8 overs?
completely. He has been so appalling. I could have done that if you gave me the same amount in, like, if you gave me 200 rupees, I'll give you the exact same performance. You know what I mean? Like, it was been terrible. Like, Pat Cummins, fair
Yeah.
enough to that guy. I mean, that guy has been spot on as a captain, as a bowler, and Mitchell Stark, just, I mean, it was always going to be a gamble, right? I think they were just paying for pace. That's it. And anyways, it was a bit of a shock. So I question the judgment there. But yeah, that's my four. RCB fans, I think they'll have to go another year without getting any silverware. And look, I feel for them. I think Chinnaswamy is a really tough ground to be a home ground, right?
Yeah.
Because the ground is small, right? It's so heavily dependent on the toss. It's tough to defend totals. It's a batting paradise, which is why historically RCB have always been so batting heavy. Chris Gayle, AB de Villiers, Virat Kohli, but it's just such a tough ground, to be, to be, to be a home ground, because you want to win consistently at home. It's tough to do that at the Chinnaswamy when the toss is outside your control. A bowler could have a bad day, and and then
Yeah.
it all goes absolutely haywire. So it's tough, right? And we saw that in the World Cup as well. I mean, you had 400 chase down. But we'll take it. But yeah, so I think if your home ground is as small as the Chinnaswamy, it's going to be tough,
Yeah.
and I think they've had this every time.
Yeah, I know. I agreed. I mean, I would probably agree with most of your predictions. I'm not sure about GT Gujarat this year, to be honest. I think for all the chat we've had about Hardik Pandya, I think for them in their makeshift, like their balance of the team and everything, I think he's a big loss. And again, they're probably very highly dependent on Rashid Khan. So if he has a good tournament, then maybe. But I still think maybe KKR might go through because of their. I really like the kind of top Indian like batting
Yeah, yeah.
order, because they've got they don't have like a star batsman, but they have all these, like, I won't even say youngsters, but these IPL kind of youngish players, the Rinku Singh and Nitesh Rana, those who have kind of
Yeah.
been in and around and are actually coming to the fore now.
So I'll just make one point there. So that's one of the reasons why I think they'll bottle it slightly, because I just feel they're
Yeah.
missing experience at the top. And I think for the the important, as you say, it's a really long tournament. But as we
Yeah.
get into the business end, I question how much experience will come into
Yeah.
play there.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, we touched on a little bit how long the tournament is. I mean, it's 2 months now, I think, overall, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's long.
it is long.
It's long, right? And the issue with it being this long is some players will make themselves unavailable for various points, right? So I wonder. Look, I understand this whole home and away concept. You play every team at home, away. I know they've resisted the urge of breaking the tournament into two groups because they want the whole charm is every team plays every team, everyone plays everyone twice. But I just think you need to have more games a day. Then you'll probably
Yeah.
just need to have more games a day. I know it's suboptimal, but it just has to be done because I just think 2 months is a long time. It's a big investment, and I think after a while, you'll find that what tends to happen is the beginning tends to be really exciting and all that. Then it gets a bit boring because then you're like, teams are, it's sort of in the middle, it's
Yeah.
meandering, sort of, neither here nor there. And then at the
Yeah.
business end, everybody will wake up again, right? So I think that's what, as an organizer, you need to protect against.
Yeah. And I think also from a moment's point of view, I guess, from a neutral fan, I guess, when the tournament's so long, you kind of forget a lot of the good moments. Okay, we'll all remember the 277 game just because it was a 277 game. But there've been other moments where we just won't remember it, right? Because just because it's been such a long tournament, it gets all, in a year's time, we'll be like, was this IPL 24, 23, 22? It just gets all
Yeah,
muddled
yeah,
up just because
completely.
there's
Yeah.
there's so many games. Obviously, the kind of IPL nerds will know each and every game, each and every stat, but that's not the common person. And you obviously made the point around people making themselves unavailable for certain tours and games. And obviously, the team that gets most impacted by it is Pakistan in a way, because obviously we've got the New Zealand tour coming up, and someone like Kane Williamson, who's happy to warm the bench at I think he's at LSG, rather than coming to Pakistan to play a T20 series. Priorities. But I guess it's also a good segue to discuss Pakistan cricket as well, and the latest happenings at the Pakistan Comedy Board, I think, is what I'll go with.
No, I think I look. It's a gift that keeps on giving. Pakistan. I mean, I, I actually thought it was an April Fool's joke. I'll be really honest. When I saw that, it's a joke. It can't be right. Babar being appointed white ball captain again. I mean, no way. And it's nothing to do with Babar. It's just the fact that you've just made Shaheen Afridi captain. He's won the PSL twice. Look, personally, I don't care either way between Shaheen and Babar. I'm quite, because having seen Shaheen's immaturity, I'm indifferent between the two. But my slight vote would have gone for Shaheen only because he was just made captain, right?
Exactly.
He has won the PSL twice. Okay, Babar has
Yeah.
not won anything as captain. Not the PSL because Imad Wasim was captain of Karachi Kings then. Not any international tournament. Whereas, in fairness to Shaheen, he's won the PSL twice
Yeah.
consecutively, right? And yes, he was heavily dependent on Rashid Khan, as we can see now. The minute he went, it all went
Yeah.
downhill. He was dependent on Fakhar Zaman being in form. He was, all that. But putting all that aside, right, he found a winning formula. Okay, so give him credit where it's due. He lost a pointless T20 series. Yes, he didn't captain well. Yes, this PSL he did not captain well. He kept promoting himself up the order. He showed himself to be quite immature. Apparently, rumor has it that the management around, they often things get passed around in the
Yeah.
corridors of the PCB. Apparently, they said that he was quite stubborn and he was, he wanted to do what he wanted to do, like promote himself up the order. Like no sane person in the team management would have said, "Yes, promote yourself ahead of remember the name Carlos Brathwaite." But he wanted to go ahead of Braithwaite, and he wasn't going to take a no for an answer. So there's a bit of immaturity there. But I'm on Team Shaheen's side here because I just think it is hugely unfair to not give him a longer run, right? Especially given that he had the mandate of changing, of giving the team stability and being there for the long term because of his
Yeah.
age. Like, I just think it's absurd. It's
Yeah.
absolutely absurd. He, in fact, the
Yeah.
one thing the last point I'd make is also the fact that he himself said, he's like, I asked the PCB, what have I done wrong? And I haven't yet got a satisfactory answer. And it's to his credit that I think they've reached an sort of an uncomfortable truce for the time being, which is, I think, a credit to Shaheen's maturity. I can think of so many other players who would have completely like just shut the door on Pakistan if something
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, the other thing is they'd start attributing quotes to him, which apparently he never made in the press release, right? About how he's, I don't
I
know,
mean,
backing Babur and he's happy with the decision and all that sort of stuff. Which meant
yeah,
that
look,
the PCB chairman slash interior minister slash some other ministry guy
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
had to go and apologize or speak to Shine in person.
All the way to Kakul, he's like, oh man, but they know, like Barber and Shaheen are your two biggest stars. Okay,
Yeah,
you can't get them fighting against each other. Just look at how India did it with Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Yes, it wasn't done well. If you remember how Kohli was sacked and all, but it was still not botched. Like there was still a lot of respect between the two, and apparently Shaheen and Barber still have a lot of respect,
yeah,
which is a credit to them. But it has really, really caused unrest in that environment, in that team environment. The one good thing that Pakistan had over the last 2 3 years, unlike the teams of old, was a cohesive environment, which Zaka Ashraf and now Mohsin Naqvi have completely turned the tables on.
yeah,
And and I just want to criticize Barber a bit here because Barber apparently said his initial request was he'd only be made captain if he's given all three formats. I mean, poor Shan Masood. Yes, he lost the series in Australia 3-0, but that was probably the closest we've ever come to winning in Australia, despite having probably one of the weakest bowling attacks we've ever had. And that's
yeah.
only because of Shan Masood's imaginative and aggressive captaincy. David Warner, Steve Smith. I can think of so many dismissals
Travis
that
Head.
he manufactured. Big Travis Head, yes, with a weird field positioning. He tried things,
Yeah.
short ball,
And there were
bottom.
lots of drop catches and things like that as
Yeah,
well, which,
exactly. He can't control that. Had Abdullah Shafiq not dropped 50 catches, we perhaps would have won a test match there, right?
yeah,
The second one in particular. But like if you think about it, Shan Masood may not be the best player. But if you think he tried to get batters out, bodyline
yeah,
bowling, unusual field positions, and invariably, almost every time it worked.
yeah,
So I think it's
true.
hugely unfair, placed a lot of pressure on Shan Masood, and I question Barber here. I think Barber
Yeah,
is a bit of player power coming in. He knows he's the mega star.
yeah,
And look, the last point I make is if you wanted to change, make it
yeah,
your best captain, and that's Mohammad Rizwan. Come on, right?
yeah.
Rizwan is single-handedly your best captain, leading Multan Sultan's final after final. He's won the PSL once, and he's leading them to final after final.
Three finals in a row. He's lost all of them on the last ball. All three of them.
Oh yeah, that's actually a great stat. All three of them on the last ball. But I mean, he's a phenomenal captain. I mean,
Yeah,
you can see that. Now, I know PSL isn't equal to international cricket in the strictest sense, but if
yeah,
you had to pick and if
yeah,
you had to make a change, why go for the tried and tested Babar Azam, who we've said you can refer to all our previous episodes where we've talked about how he doesn't read the game quick enough. He's always late. He's always behind the eight ball. He's not proactive enough on the field. He lets the game sort of just pass him by. Just
I
as
mean, yeah, and yeah, you said try tested and fail. I'd say because I mean throughout the World Cup we've seen that, and you know what he brings. And if anything, a guy who gets knocked out of the PSL thanks to Heather Ali does not deserve to be a captain.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't. And look, the whole idea was you wanted him to focus on his batting because you felt like it was impacting his batting also because the
Yeah,
pressure that he had on his shoulders. But you just made it worse for himself. I mean, you
yeah,
just made it worse for him, right? I
yeah.
mean,
I was saying if you wanted to go down the, I guess they didn't continue to shine, partly because of his PSL performance. But then, if you want to use the PSL as a barometer, like you say, either make it Mohammad Rizwan or maybe Shadab Khan, who's younger and he's got a bit more dynamic, maybe. Although I think Islamabad United have a very good team behind them
Yeah.
and all of that. But why would you go back to Babar? I mean, I just didn't see anything exceptional. Like he had a really good PSL with the bat for sure. But I mean, what did you see in his captaincy that really made it a big difference?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the same things that I saw at the international stage.
Yeah,
He doesn't grab the game by the scruff of the neck. He lets it just wander away from him and slip out of his hands. I remember there were these moments when I can't remember which game it was, but look, at the international level, there are hundreds where, there are these moments in cricket
yeah,
matches. The hallmark of a good captain is he senses the moments that he needs to win in
yeah,
order to win the game, right? You don't need to be the best team for most of the game. You need to just win those important moments, right? And
yeah,
if you do that, then you're going to win.
yeah,
Australia has done it so many times against Pakistan. Pakistan have been so good for most of it, but Australia just win those key moments and then
yeah,
goodbye, right?
yeah,
We are always at the
yeah,
receiving end of something like that. But
yeah.
that's it. Babar Azam cannot read those moments. And if he
True.
does, it's only retrospectively. It's not in the
Yeah,
moment, right? He's not quick enough. He's not
yeah,
sharp enough. Sorry, Babar. I love you. I hope you succeed as a great batter. And I hope I'm wrong. And I hope you lift the T20 World Cup. But
yeah,
something tells me that if we are to win in the World Cup in the West Indies, it won't be because of his captaincy. It's likely to be in spite of it.
yeah.
It's a bit
No,
of a
I
harsh.
tend to agree. And you mentioned specific moments. Again, it didn't probably work out in the end for Rizwan, but in that final, the PSL final, certain moments where he brought in Iftikhar and Khushtil, towards the end when, the chase was on, when all of us were like, why would you bring in Khushtil? And he actually bowled really well. He gave, I think, he
Yeah,
took
it was
two
excellent.
wickets.
Listen,
Exactly, right?
let's not forget he didn't have the strongest squad.
Yeah,
Rizwan. I mean, he hasn't had it for a while now, but it's testament to how he leads, right? I mean, he would have been the
yeah,
best choice, I think, a neutral choice if you didn't want, and he's your probably your third biggest star, I'd say. I thought he would have been a good choice. Shadab, I think, is still a bit immature. I think he has to cement his place in the international team. I do think he's a guaranteed. He's a sure shot in the T20 team. We've said this before.
yeah,
He's a good T20 bowler, good T20 batter, good T20 all rounder, and great fielder. So I think he's a guaranteed. Um, he has a guaranteed place in the T20 starting 11. But I still think he's not mature enough. There are times when he gets a bit carried away. So for me, it has to be someone who's comfortable in his own skin, who knows he doesn't need to prove himself from a performance perspective, and
yeah.
that for me is Rizwan. But anyways, but who are we, Zahid? You and I, unfortunately, are not in the PCB. We should be, but we're not. And we're just here hoping that someone somewhere listens to this, and either, well, question for you, Zahid. Let's say you are made the chairman of the PCB now, after what
Yeah.
most of have done. What would you do? And in this
Look,
very moment, would you change back, or would that be a worse issue because you're going back and forth, or would you
okay, look,
support Bauer, or would you make a change for Rizwan?
it's very easy to take the moral high ground and think or speak hypothetically. To me, like this is not the PCB chairman's job in any case. Full stop. The PCB chairman should not be choosing the captain of the team.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the number one thing, right? I would I would have a selection committee or have your coach or your
Kamran
coaching committee
Akmal and all
come
those
on.
people, yes.
Yeah, but they should decide who the captain is. Like I myself as a chairman, my job is to sort out brand deals and sponsorships and all of that kind of stuff, right? Kind of enhance the grassroots level or maybe work even not the kind of work on the domestic structure, but that's also something that the kind of cricketing experts do. But providing that framework for them to work under, and that's the job of a chairman or chairperson, not to go around and captain. But
But
hypothetically, if
no,
I
no,
was the PCB chairman who is responsible for the
no,
captaincy, if that's
fair
your
enough, fair enough.
question.
But my question. So would you then reverse all decisions made by the previous chairman because he
No.
shouldn't have had the responsibility to make those decisions, or would you keep it as is because you don't feel you have the you should have the responsibility to make those
Look,
decisions?
now I wouldn't change it because now it's too late. That's it. I don't want to. This will be like you're just playing around. And this happens again, Pakistan cricket, right? Where every time there's a new chairman or chairperson, the coach changes, the captain changes. So you need to get rid of that. So I mean, I wouldn't have if I was in Mohsin Naqvi's shoes, I would not have made that change, full stop. But now that it
I
had to
would
be
have
done,
even,
there's no
I
point.
totally agree. I wouldn't have even made, even though I wanted Rizwan to be captain, I
Yeah,
wouldn't have even made Rizwan captain. You've chosen
yeah,
Shaheen, you need to back him. Okay,
yeah,
maybe make Rizwan the vice captain. I
yeah,
don't think we have a vice captain. Make Rizwan the vice captain if you
yeah.
must.
Yeah. I mean, they've had
That's
Shadab as vice captain for so long. Like, what's the point of that, right?
that was the biggest. I think he's the most pointless vice captain of all time. He's like the vice president of the U.S. Or, like you'll never make it to the presidency. You'll always lose that election. But yes,
so yeah, look, I wouldn't change it now. There's no point. It would just create more issues. And look, at least in the World Cup, okay, if Pakistan have a howler at the World Cup, they don't qualify or they lose to the US or something like that, and we lose to India and all that stuff, then maybe. But otherwise, look, this is the team that we have now, and they have, you know, you can't keep going around and chopping and
but
changing
poor
things.
Amir and Imad.
I think that's
I
the
mean,
master stroke, right?
that is a master stroke. You got him in, you got them all in, and be like, okay, Babar is now captain. If Mohsin Naqvi had this planned, I take my hat off and salute you. However, what I think is this. I think Imad Wasim, I know Babar and Imad have had beef in the past due to Karachi Kings and attitude and all that, but I
Yeah,
think Imad's performances have been too strong to ignore. And look,
yeah,
let's face it, Babar had Imad in his 2021 T20 team as well. So
yeah,
I think Imad's going to be back. I don't think Amir is going to be back. I think the
yeah,
Babar Amir beef is just too much there, and I just don't think Amir's performances have been that spectacular to ignore all the stuff that he's been saying
yeah.
against the team, right? So I
True.
personally think, I mean, although the spectacle of seeing Shaheen Amir and Naseem Shah all in their heyday is very mouth-watering, but we must remember Amir is past his heyday. So you just have to, like, Amir, I think, like, yes, okay, he can be tried for a few New Zealand games, but I just don't see him being in the starting 11. But having said that,
Mm.
I think there's some people who say that actually he must have been guaranteed a place in the 11 to take his retirement back and take such a U-turn. So maybe there's something I'm not aware of. I don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe removing Shine from the captaincy is a sign that maybe Shine does not make the 11, and maybe it's going to be Amir Naseem and maybe one more
No,
who's
no,
going to be the
no.
starting
This is too
11.
radical. I mean, I know the PCB is crazy, the Pakistan crazy board, but I don't think they're that bad. I think Amir. I don't know. Just for all I know, Muhammad Irfan will be walking out next. You see, so Irfan, 7'2", you know. Yeah, I
We'll
mean,
we'll
what?
leave it we'll leave it to our audience to decide. On that note, who would they prefer? Amir, Shaheen, Naseem. Who would your pace attack be for Pakistan at the
And
T20
who'd
World
your
Cup?
captain be? Actually, yes, captain. And who'd your vice captain be? Because that's the position that is up for grabs. I would have
And the
Rizwan,
most important one.
the most important one. But I mean, I personally have Rizwan. I think it'll be too funny to make Shaheen vice captain after stripping him from the captaincy.
Yeah.
But I'd say
Okay.
it's probably gonna be Rizwan. But keen to hear your views. Oh, Shadab, and it's a complete U-turn, and we're back in
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah. Let us know what you think in the comments. And on that note, let's wrap it up. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, please do subscribe to our channel. And thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.